great-grandfather homesteaded here. He fell in love with raising cattle way early on when the West was still free. That has really grown through the family. It is a way of life that is from being here for so long. My family has been here in Oregon since 1873. My great-grandfather, when he passed through this region, he fell in love with the beauty of the forest and the lakes and farmland and the environment. These are the four brothers. Jimmy and my dad ran the ranch together. There was an old saying that passed down in my family that was, take care of the grass will take care of you. And that is something that we try and honor today. Today we're at Tail Mountain Cattle Company. I am the fourth generation in this, of ranching, in the 150 years that we've been in business. The cattle population here is about 350 head. Down. And we're at around 19,000 acres. When we look at ranching, how it's changing and how it's developing out, it is growing and doing things differently. A lot of it has to do with climate change and how that is affecting us and how we're seeing the wettest years we've ever seen to the driest years we've ever seen. And what used to be like a 50-year time span in between those, we're seeing that in like 3 years. We need to have the resources to build in proper vegetation and water management so that we can hold some back to help us handle these highs and lows happening here in a way that we've never seen prior. And that's when the Partners Program will step in and kind of help you fill in those gaps and listen to you and help work with you.
Juniper, it's a native that can become invasive.
Right, exactly.
My name's Callie Davenport. I work for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I am the state coordinator of the Partners for Fish and Wildlife program here in Oregon. We work a lot with private landowners. We do a lot of voluntary habitat restoration work on their properties. When most people think about conservation, they do think about conservation on public lands, but there is opportunity for conservation to happen on private landowner lands.
It's a good spot for it.
My name is Dirk Renner. I'm a biologist with the Partners for Fish and Wildlife program. The Partners program really focuses on locally led collaborative conservation work, working with private landowners, the local communities to develop projects specifically beneficial for the locations where we're working. The first project I worked with Jim Bob on here on his property was a stream restoration project where we were moving the stream back into its historic channel.
This is where collaboration really comes into play. I was really apprehensive against putting the creek back down the middle because of a flooding issue. They took care of my big concern by adding in this large concrete structure up there that will allow for the water to bypass and engage that channel that's put on the base of the hill to help kick water out of the system so that way we wouldn't have a flooding issue through here. And it really came together in a beautiful way.
What we've done is we've put fences on both sides of the stream to keep cattle out so that the vegetation that we've planted in there can grow and establish.
This piece through here is really the crown gem of the restoration through here because the response was so good. This is a perfect example of what you want to see happen here. This is ideal.
I'm amazed. I can remember walking this 10 years ago when we first came out here, and it's completely different.
There's species that weren't here that are here now that make us so much more resilient. With the way this looks now, we call this a success.
We did this project to improve habitat for salmon and steelhead fish, moving the stream back into the valley bottom. We actually have added about a mile of stream length, so there's more habitat, the water is slower, but at the same time you have more water, and that helps Jim Bob irrigate his pasture to raise hay grass for feeding his cattle.
When we talk about the public and like how private lands benefit them, all this water is running through us, all our communities here in Oregon. So the term trickle downstream is 100% accurate in this way. I think volunteer conservation is the best conservation because when it's volunteer, people care about it and they'll work hard at it and they're going to be involved in it in a way that if it was required, they wouldn't be.
The America the Beautiful initiative is about working with private landowners, doing voluntary habitat restoration work on their properties. And collaboration is super important. It's the only way we're going to get things done.
We couldn't do these projects without private landowners. Private lands are so important for us to be able to restore and preserve and protect our landscape into the future.
Doing conservation work on a private landowner's property is about relationship building.
It is really important to work with agencies that are really in it for their conservation efforts to be successful, as well as you being successful.
One of the things that I am most proud about in the Partners program is most of the landowners I've worked with in my career are still friends of mine to this very day. You know that you've done well with people when you've become lifelong friends with them.
My father used to use a saying all the time, well, it's not all bad luck. In anything that we do and we look at, you have to appreciate the good that's in it too. As a landowner, it took me quite a while to get to an understanding that I have today, but it's been because of the Partners program.